video we were talking about home decor and home renovation, and I showed you our downstairs loo, which I really want to redecorate. And in the process, I ended up showing you footage of our living room, which a lot of you said that you really liked. First of all, thank you, because a lot of blood, sweat, tears, and sawdust went into that living room. But I realised that I wasn't really posting to YouTube at the time that I decorated that living room, but I did film a lot of it. I have some video that is like horizontal, some that's vertical, and I documented all of it because I did intend to post it at some point. But I thought I would share it with you today and show you what our living room looked like before and kind of what it looks like now, which is still a work in progress. Can I just say, posting on YouTube in the era where everything had to be perfect and everything was so set and rigid really did a number on my brain, because that room is not complete yet. But that doesn't mean I can't share any of it. It's fine. It's really fine. I love that things are a little bit more relaxed now on the internet. So just know that it's not finished. But we'll talk about that later on in this video. We've got a little cameo here. Make yourself comfortable. Okay. Can start now. So when we bought this house, I have to say, the people that owned it previously took really, really good care of it. Everything had been really well maintained. Like, they'd obviously put a lot of love into this house, and they lived here for 10 years. I don't know if any of you have been around since our last home reno, but unlike that, everything with this house had been done to a really, really high standard. Everything had been done properly and above board. House market post-COVID lockdowns was just crazy. If any of you moved during that time, like, we got through it together, but we were just constantly being outbid on houses, so we had to up our budget a little bit. But that meant that whatever house we ended up buying, we would not have this pool of money to do any big renovations. We wanted a turnkey property that was ready to move into, and that's definitely what we got. We did not originally intend to do the living room first quickly at all. Like, we really wanted to live in this house and just feel settled before we really did anything, which is very different to how we renovated our last house. That was bare bricks, and it was a bit of a nightmare, to be honest. So we really had to just make a lot of decisions quickly. We were really tight on our budget, so we had to pick things that were not necessarily the best quality, but that would just get the job done. We really didn't want to do that with this house. We wanted to live in it a bit and not make any rash decisions. However, it all started with a carpet. Obviously, carpets get worn and they get used. Like, they had 2 children, I had a dog. We originally thought that the carpet was like a greyish colour, but when they'd removed their furniture and the room was totally empty, you could see that it was actually grey. There was no greyish, no beige to it. It was just like wear and dirt, really, everyday dirt. In the long term, we didn't want to keep this carpet, but I was like, let's hire a carpet cleaner. Let's live with the carpet until we decide what we're going to do with this house, what our colour scheme is, whether we want wooden flooring, whether we want laminate floor. Let's just clean the carpet and live with it for a little bit. So we hired a rug doctor. We cleaned the carpet and it looked a little bit better, but it was not sucking the water up the way that it should have at all. We cleaned the best as we could and sucked as much water up as we could with the rug doctor, and we just had to kind of leave it at that until we could go and get the Bissell, which was like 24 hours later. There was a lot of water left in the carpet. It started to smell. I started to panic because I was like, I've made a situation that really wasn't that bad a whole lot worse. Anyway, we got the Bissell, managed to clean it, and I'm not joking, I spent so long on my hands and knees on this carpet. We got it a lot cleaner, but it was not smelling any better. At that point, the underlay was saturated, it smelled really bad, and we had to rip it up. We took it to the tip, but when we ripped it up, we had lovely original floorboards underneath. Now, they weren't in the best nick, but they also weren't terrible. Thus began my quest to renovate these floorboards. Now, Matt was in the middle of a very, very, very busy period with work. He was like, we can just get flooring. I'm very stubborn, and once I'd put my mind to it and decided that I was gonna do this floor, I was gonna do the floor. We rented an upright sander, like a walk-in sander, and one of the edges, and I also had a little handheld mouse sander, and I got to work. Obviously a very dusty job, and I was not expecting to do this, but we were just rolling with it at this point. And then we realized, okay, I guess we're renovating the living room. It looked to me like someone had like varnished around a rug or something in the room, because there was varnish on the floor, but not over the whole surface of the floor. They just, fair enough, they'd just like gone around the edges. So we sanded all that away. The floorboards were looking not too bad. There were a few bits, like there was a trap door for people to obviously like get under the floorboards, and there was an area where some of them had been disturbed before. However, we were pretty sure that we were going to get a huge rug that just covered the entire floor. I did use a bit of wood filler to try and conceal them, but when I went on to do the Danish oil, which is what we ended up doing as the finish for the floor, I realized that even though the wood filler had said that it was sandable and stainable, it really didn't take on the stain. And so it was just really, really light. So I ended up just sanding over that area, doing the best that I could to like get as much of the wood filler out as possible, and just calling it a day, because again, it was going to be covered by a huge rug. We ended up picking a rug from Ruggable, obviously deeply scarred by the carpet situation, and really desperately wanted something that could go in the washing machine. The Ruggable was perfect because we could get like a cushiony pad that makes it feel really comfortable, even though the rug on the top of the Ruggable pad is really thin and can go in the washing machine. We've got a lot of books, so we knew that we wanted some book storage. We decided to go whole hog and go for a built-in type vibe to the living room. Because we needed bookshelves on both sides, we were a little bit restricted TV wise. So we pretty much decided that we were going to put the TV above the mantle, and we were going to get a frame TV, which I had been hankering after a frame TV for years, and this was my opportunity. With the frame TV, the box that like powers the TV and anything else that you plug into it, the idea is that all of that stuff is hidden. That's the whole point of the frame TV. So we knew we needed some kind of cabinet for that to go in. We decided on this IKEA unit, which had sliding doors. I cut a hole at the back of it for the plug access and to feed cables up. And I fed the cables behind some Billy bookcases that we placed on top. So we ended up with Billy bookcases on the left hand side as you're looking at the mantelpiece, with extenders on top, and then at the top there was a gap that I filled in with MDF. Honestly, I would do this again in a heartbeat. It was such an efficient way to do it, both money wise, time wise. It just worked out really well. I'd never done anything like this before, but God loves a trier, and I'm deluded with DIY stuff. I see something and I'm like, I can try that. I even made these little diamond shapes to like go on the top. And do you know what? Like, if you don't look too closely, I think they look fine. Once we've done the bookcases, I also panelled the room, because this house is from the 1930s. There is some panelling left in the hall, and there are some things about this property that are very 1930s. Like, we've got a lot of curved walls. I do think, however, that a lot of the original features were ripped out in the 60s and 70s, as happened to a lot of houses. So I wanted to add paneling back because I felt like it would work well in this house, and it was kind of period appropriate. It also isn't the biggest room, especially when we put in the bookcases. Although weirdly, I think it looks bigger with the bookcases than it did before. But because it wasn't the biggest room, I feel like often the idea is to just go light and like lots of light paint. But I wanted to make it feel really cozy and like a little snug and just like really cozy vibes, because at the end of the day, that's what you go in your living room for, to just feel cozy and relaxed. We ended up going with a dark blue paint, and I primed the cabinets with a Zinza bin primer. When you start putting a dark colour on, I feel like there's a moment of panic where you just think, what have I done? But then another coat goes on and everything feels fine. The vision comes together. So we went with a dark blue, and then we went with a light pink. It's kind of like a ballet slipper pink. I also did the woodwork because they had a lot of white gloss paint on them that had been put on over the years. So I used a heat gun, and obviously that took forever. And I don't even know if you can really tell, but I did it. I did it on the windowsill as well and filled all that in. Furniture wise, I knew that I wanted this sideboard in there. This sideboard was actually from my nana's house, and I very kindly was allowed to keep it, and I just love this. I just feel like it's totally our style. As you can see, we love mid-century furniture, we love vintage G-plan furniture. This sideboard also belonged to my great grandma, and I stripped it and did it up. They're not only really sentimental to me, but they're also things that I would pick now, even if they weren't sentimental to me. Like, it's just my style. So I knew that I really wanted that in there. We had it in our old house. In order to have the layout that we wanted and keep that, we took the door off, which honestly has not really been a big deal, but it just makes the living room and the hall more open plan. We're big record collectors, so we knew that we wanted a record player on that sideboard, and we had the idea to do a vinyl wall above it. And also in the bookcases, we left some of the shelves high enough to store our vinyl, because we knew we would need somewhere to store that as well. We got some curtains just from IKEA because I really loved these curtains. I loved the deep green and how it went with the blue, and it kind of pulled out of the rug as well. I would really like to add a pelmet, and I did buy extra curtains to do that, but I think I've decided now to do a wooden one at some point and colour it the same blue as the walls. So that's on hold. We didn't have artwork on this wall for the longest time because we couldn't pick any. We ended up getting a poster from the Adrian Lenker tour that we went to, and I got that framed, and then I just picked two prints that kind of pulled colours from the living room and matched our vibe and sat well with the Adrian Lenker poster in the middle. We've not changed the light switch yet, which we want to do, and I've already bought this, like we've already got it, but we're getting it changed to a dimmer because I hate the big light in any room. I call it the homophobic light. I really don't like it. I'm a lamp girly. I don't like the overhead light. But sometimes you need a little bit extra light, and I just feel like every overhead light should be a dimmer. We've already bought the dimmer switch. We've also bought the light fitting as well. We're probably going to get some sort of art deco, like a 30s appropriate ceiling rose. And I would love to do coving as well. So these are just like the last little bits that we need to do. We also haven't bought a sofa since we moved in here. The blue sofa that we've got is very uncomfortable. This was just a cheap Dunelm sofa bed that we bought when we were staying at my nana's house. It's comfortable as a bed, not comfortable as a sofa, but it fit there and it was the right colour, so we've just left it for now. The other sofa is an IKEA sofa that we have had since we rented a flat in London, if any of you were here long enough to remember that. But when we lived in London, this was like the only sofa that would fit in our flat because it was so small. It was just like a two-seater IKEA sofa, and I dyed the covers green, and we said like we'll just keep it temporarily until we decide what to do, and we've not replaced it yet. Honestly, I'm glad that we've not replaced it yet, because I actually think I want to get rid of the coffee table, which again we've had since our last house. I love this coffee table, but it takes up so much of the room. So I'm thinking of getting rid of the coffee table, getting a small set of nesting tables, and having two seats either side in the bay window, because the sofa where it is now kind of cuts off the bay window, and it would be really nice to see more of that. And if we had two chairs, I think you'd get more of that aspect. And then get a comfier sofa with like a matching footstool, so it would be like an L-shaped sofa, but the footstool could be a table with a tray on it. That is what I'm thinking. It's been 2 years and we're still on our temporary sofas, but we want to make the right decision, buy something that's really good quality, that's going to last us. I say we didn't want to rush into it, but now I feel like we're entering the point where we need to do that soon. So that's the next step. And as well as the curtains, I would really like to get shutters as well, just because the living room is at the front of the house, and in the summer when the sun sets later and you're not drawing your curtains as early, I just feel like it would be nice to have a little bit more privacy. We don't live on a super busy street in terms of cars, but there is quite a lot of foot traffic. So it would be really nice to have shutters that you could let light through at the top, or just like have them half open, half closed. But yeah, that's what we've done so far to the living room, which continues to be a work in progress. But isn't that just the nature of decorating, because I'm sure by the time we've finished it, I'll be thinking of redoing it all over again. Anyway, if you've got any ideas or thoughts on the things that I mentioned, anything that's not occurred to me, let me know. I would love to hear. I feel like you kind of know my taste and the things that I like, so I'm all ears if you've got any other ideas. Anyway, I've been talking for a long time now, so I'm gonna go. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon.